Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 8. As usual, it's at the 3 a.m. Time slot, and before we dive into this, I got to go over all the changes that I've made. I think I recently said I wasn't going to make any changes, but it's actually kind of fun to just change out the box. So, taking my recent loss into account, I wanted more act-agains. That was kind of the main focus, and also I kind of recognized that Zerda is just not really doing it anymore. When she does well, but a lot of cases where if it's against a very tough opponent, a lot of times I end up using Zerda as bait more than anything, usually to bait an attack from Kyura or something like that. So, I dropped Zerda, I dropped Sophia, and I dropped Lycoris. I don't really need the faction buffs anymore from Meteor or Dark. I can get attack buffs plenty from a variety of characters or Gospel, so I definitely I don't need to rely on faction buffs as much, for at least for strikers. And Sophia is really good, but with the meta and me wanting more act-agains, the bad part about Sophia is while she's able to provide a lot of passive generic buffing, like I said, I already have other sources to get things like Strengthen or Mass Attack and stuff like that, so I don't really need it as much anymore. And the other issue with her is the only other thing she provides is Rewind, and everything else is just kind of like the basic AoE heals and things like that. Even with her 3C, it's just not going to be enough to keep up with the debuff meta, at least in my opinion. Also, with Leona, it's going to get her 3C, and it's even better. So that's just a thing to take into account. So I guess the people I replaced those three characters with is Leona, Sissy White, and Moo. My Moo is only 4 stars. Other than that, she's fully built. I pretty much grabbed Moo because she provides passive healing, passive attack buffing if you have the right terrain, and she has a teleport. I did want another teleport in the group, and she has a very powerful teleport. And every map in Apex has grasslands somewhere in it, so I could definitely use the teleport. Sissy White is 6 stars, so I do get 2 coins, and she's very flexible. She has a lot of different varieties of buffing and things like that, and has a potential act-again as well. So I technically have 3 act-agains in this box now. The other benefit of taking a character that's recently come out is a lot of times when opponents don't know what to do about the new characters, they'll ban them first. I usually call it ban bait. I wasn't really expecting Moo to be banned, but she did, so she, as a 4-star character, she definitely contributed. It's the same situation for me. I always ban Ares, so if your box has a 3-star level 1 Ares, I'm gonna ban it, and so that could save you trouble of not having to build a full 15 box or something like that. In any case, my opponent didn't ban Moo first, and as for my opponent, a lot of long range. Yeah, a lot of long range mostly, with some high mobility, high attack range, some AoEs. Technically 3 tanks, but I usually don't consider Bernhard a tank anymore because you don't really use them for that. So 2 tanks, 4 healer setup, pretty standard. Alright, so with this, as I mentioned, I always ban Ares. That will change when Wetham comes out, but for now it's going to always be Ares. They left me with Hilda, so I'll go ahead and grab Hilda. My opponent went for my long range / assassins, and they take their Hilda, so I was completely okay with that. I immediately go for their long range potential teleports and all that nonsense, and I take my Tensei Jessica, so I have teleport, long range, and strengthen if I need it. They banned my some of my assassins. Oh, I guess speaking of Tsubame, so overall, most people consider Zerda better than Tsubame, because Zerda can set up her extra mobility a lot easier, and it's better than Tsubame, even with the exclusive. But in worst case scenarios, such as situations where there's a lot of high threat and Zerda doesn't have anywhere to actually do hide and seek, she's actually slower than Tsubame. Like, Tsubame relies on stealth for most of her mobility, but she also has access to quick step. So in worst case scenario, she actually has more mobility than Zerda, which is kind of interesting. Also, I just kind of like using Tsubame because she requires far less setup than Zerda. So they brought in Warner, and Warner's a little bit dangerous if he gets high enough mobility. Usually he's kind of launched like a missile. He'll just go in and just assassinate somebody and then let himself die. I went ahead and got rid of Lycoris, which was one of their potential healers, and used that as an opportunity to go ahead and get rid of Kyura. I'm trying to. My goal here was to get down to 3 healers, and then ban the 2 Act-Agains, and then force them to pick Rosenseal. Rosenseal's annoying, but she's a lot easier to deal with as far as heal potential is concerned. I went ahead and grabbed Marielle for some additional healing potential, but mainly because I felt like her assassination potential is a little bit easier to do than Sherry's. And went ahead and ban my long legs. They take Bernhardt. So right now, heavy Art Empire going on here. Like I mentioned before, I went ahead and banned their Act-Agains. I grabbed my Act-Again. And at this point, I had 3 healers and a tank left. And so he bans 2 of my healers, or banned my healer and my tank. I'm not really sure why they banned my tank, because my tank would not be able to stand up. If Hilda dies from Bernhardt, Bernhardt's also going to kill Freya. It's going to be the same situation. So my choices were either go Rosenseal and negate the heal negation that Bernhardt was going to do and potentially counteract any AoEs, or I could go Liana and get another Act-Again. So they went Rosenseal as predicted. So at this point I was like, alright, well I'm going to take out your remaining dangers. I am not afraid of Elwyn, and Juggler I'm more than used to fighting now. And I went ahead and grab Liana. And they grab Juggler. Sorry for the long rambly start. Alright, so one other difference that my box has, and wasn't on purpose, is I actually had switched staffs on Light of Genesis to the Staff of Scepter Divinity, which is the staff that lets you have extra range for single target skills if you're not in defense terrain. I had that equipped for the challenge missions for the recent event, and I didn't swap back to the Pale Staff. So right now, Light of Genesis actually has extra range, and reduced fixed damage, or not fixed damage, reduced single target damage, which is a little bit interesting. Also, she has extra HP, because that's what the staff provides, is plus 5%, which is going to be important. That's why I'm mentioning it. Marielle, I went with Zealots. I was tempted to go Amazon Champions, mainly because Warner. In hindsight, I think I could have probably gotten away with it, but I wasn't sure what my target was going to be, and if I was going to be going after Bernhardt, I would need the Zealots essentially. All right. Besides that, standard kit. Well, actually, not standard kit for Florentia. I actually took her 3C because I have 2 healers now. So I took Resounding Might for some extra stratagems or battle strategies, and then Liana is pretty standard with Act-Again and Prayer. Hilda, I went with Phalanx just so I could reduce physical damage, and then Light of Genesis. I didn't bring Strength; I just brought Holy Light for some extra nuking and passive healing. And as far as Marielle, standard kit for Marielle. Alright, as for our opponents, this Hilda actually brought Dominating Formation. Is that the right term? Yeah, that's the one. So Dominating Formation is a guard skill that also puts out terrain, and that terrain actually prevents Act-Agains and Move-Agains. So it was actually really smart that my opponent brought that, because it definitely is a counter against all the Act-Agains I have. Obviously, taking it meant she went without a faction buff, but she can get a faction buff from Bernhardt, and even if she didn't have Bernhardt, she did have Rosenseal, which also has the Empire faction buff. Juggler did not bring a faction buff, so literally all his potential is locked into being in water from Triton and doing his 3C. And then Werner here, of course, is high mobility nonsense. I don't really know Werner that much, but I assume this is a standard kit. Alright, and almost all of them use the same troops. Anyway. So I went ahead and moved Marielle first. Pretty much my goal in the first round was to kill Warner. Well, kill a target. If I had to choose, I was going to go Warner because I was more comfortable in the fact that I was going to be able to kill Warner over anyone else, because the rest of them are pretty bulky. And there's the Dominating Formation. So I've already done my Act-Again, mainly to get it on cooldown and get that started. So with this, I was just going to see what my opponent was going to do. And as you can see, here's the terrain. Sinkholes, prevents Move-Again and Act-Again. And at this point, I'm just trying to see... My big issue is the Juggler, because he can 3C and lock me down if necessary. So I was trying to goad this to get as many actions taken care of as possible before I went. Now the trade-off here is, of course, I'm going to be losing initiative, which means my opponent will be going first every round after this. So, Werner does provide passive mobility buff, kind of like Letitia, so everyone has +1 mobility, and then Bernhardt here actually gets mobility from Overlord's Ambition as well. So there's actually a lot of coverage. Werner can already get all the way to here, which is just ridiculous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so literally any of these attacks here would be first strike and bypass guard, I believe, using quick strike. So yeah, it's ridiculous. If you let him go, he'll nuke something. So I actually didn't do the teleport yet. I wanted to see what my opponent did. And then at this point I was like, alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and act again my Tensei Jessica. And then see where my opponent went. So the key here is I have to do my move agains and act agains not in the terrain. So as long as I do that, I'm good. So, and I need my first attack to be guarded. So that's why I had to do this and then attack. Just so I can make it so it's the attack is guarded to get the full buff for my 3C. Pretty good damage. That's actually really good damage. That's with that was with reduced damage. Yeah. Let's see. 50. Let's see. When initiating battle, blah blah blah. Yeah, all my damage dealt was reduced by 50%. So if I didn't have commandment, that would have actually killed Hilda. That's crazy. So I went straight for Werner. I could have gone for anyone, but I also wanted to move again. And like I said, Werner can definitely bypass guard. And I was feeling comfortable that I was going to be able to survive the AoEs from Bernhardt. And it actually worked out really, really well here because my opponent went 3C immediately. So with that, I was like, alright, well, I'll see if I can try to survive. So I was going to go ahead and push him away. I should have pushed him down instead of to the left. I was thinking maybe there's a chance I can get another strike in with another character, but I was way too far away. And my opponent could just move up to guard anyway. So I should have pushed Juggler down before moving away. That would at least make Juggler out of position for a time. So, and I got my opponent to pop their Sword Dance, which almost killed, but not quite. I think I'm sitting at probably in the 3 digits on health right now. But Marielle's buffs are gone, and she can't heal right now, so yeah, look at that. So, just kind of passing turns. The rare Rosen Seal kill. Now something to note is I got my exclusive helmet triggered on Florentia, so even when my allies die, I now get strategies off of that as well. Decided to go ahead and attack Hilda just to see how well we can hit. It's pretty much going to be a 2-shot. Throughout this entire combat, I did not pay attention about the staff I was using. Like, every time I attacked, it blatantly showed that I had the Staff of Divinity equipped rather than the Pale Staff. But I just didn't notice. So this entire time I was just assuming I didn't have extra range. Not that it really mattered at this point. So pretty much all the dangers are on cooldown. I went ahead and did Resounding Might right now, just so I can get some additional strategies up and running, and then get this on cooldown. So with this, I can do another act again next turn, even after using 5 of my strategies. So this time I don't have any buffs, so this attack was going to do less. Also, the reason why I did this attack was I was seeing if I was hoping that I was going to get Juggler to guard, but I believe the order is always it goes like right down. I believe it's clockwise based off the character on the right. So if there's a guard characters to the right, that character usually guards first. And right now, Juggler does have a magic guard up because of the 3C from earlier. So yeah, I'm kind of just passing turns right now. In hindsight, I should have just attacked immediately with Tensei Jessica. I might have been able to actually do enough to nearly kill the wounded Hilda. But I kind of hesitated. So the only real danger besides Bernhardt's cooldowns and Bernhardt just flat out killing my spears is Juggler's Beast Shock possibly negating my guard. So that's what I've been kind of taking into account here. Speaking of Bernhardt, I've been using my 3C to actually convert my class into cavalry to better soak the hits from Bernhardt if he ever does decide to attack. Because even with his regular attack, he does tons of damage. It's ridiculous. So went ahead and did Sunday Strike with Hilda just so I can get faction buffs up again. So yeah, my troops are still spears though. But I was able to soak it pretty easily. And then Overlord Ambition hits everybody, just going to do Ruptures. I guess another thing to note, both my healers have Swordsmith necklaces or medals, so they're immune to fixed damage. So the only people that are affected by fixed damage is Light of Genesis and Hilda. And technically Marielle if she was still alive. So something I should have done sooner is I should have put someone in this square here to block Juggler. So you can count how many turns I left this spot open. Like, all Juggler had to do was move up and potentially do Beast Shock, and that could have locked me down. Now, the reason why my opponent didn't do that immediately is because without guard, I'm pretty sure I can kill Juggler with Light of Genesis, because he has no buffs. So that's probably why he didn't actually capitalize on that, because all that would happen is I would just kill Juggler instead and then free up guard again. So at this point, my opponent's cooldowns are off, or Bernhardt's cooldowns are off. He decided to go ahead and faction buff first before doing Sword Dance, so that bought me a turn. Sword Dance is the thing I'm most worried about because obviously it does a lot of damage, does fixed damage, and can heal negate. The only person that's immune to heal negation is Hilda, so... Anyway, doing an attack with Thorns here, seeing how well she does. At full hit points, her troops actually get a nice little buff, so it was kind of it did okay damage. And then I'm actually holding I'm holding half of the center slots right now, and my opponent decided to go ahead and do that dominating formation, which is actually super annoying because that means any characters that are in the middle right now cannot act again. Alright. So, for some reason, when the something kind of weird happened with the guard on Hilda, because dominating formation is supposed to be a guard buff, but I think because Crimson Command is a quote-unquote stronger guard buff, it didn't overlap. So what happened was it didn't override the existing guard, and then the existing guard ran out of duration. In any case, I'm now blocking any potential routes for Juggler to actually do any significant Beast Shocks. And I'm holding 4 of the 6 slots now. The only issue now is dealing with Bernhardt, because Bernhardt's just going to do a lot of damage. So I'm kind of just waiting to see what my opponent does. Because with 2 healers, I could definitely out-heal the Sword Dance. And again, I'm just tagging Hilda here. Their Hilda does have Thorns, so if it procs Thorns, it does quite a bit of damage to me. And here's Beast Shock, which is good. It's going to hit hard, but that's about it. Other than that, I'm good to go. So, went ahead and attacked with Liana. Didn't do too much, to be honest, but every little helps. Alright. So at this point, strategic regroup. Battle support. Yeah, I did battle support because I wasn't sure. If I attacked again with Tensei Jessica while wounded, there's a chance that thorns would kill me. So shift down, just so I can provide more passive healing. So this is a regular attack. I did have Cav up at this point, so even though I went through all the spears like butter, I was Cav, so the rest of the damage didn't really go far. So I teleport outside of the terrain, get my act again, and then I shift myself up this way. This is to make sure that my guard is always on everybody, even when the buff wears off. And as you can see, I got the first life off of Hilda. And then Hilda went ahead and moved down there. So at this point, I'm controlling 4 of the 6 squares in the center. Their healer and juggler are outside of. They're going to be in the mist in a couple of turns. Yeah, and again, just another passive heal, or not passive heal, but another heal. Unfortunately, that battle support heal only heals troops. And the thing I really need is heals on Tensei Jessica so she doesn't die from AoE. Alright, another attack. So what happened here? At first I thought my buff wore off. What actually happened is the hegemony actually removed my class change. And so I was all spears, and he is a very, very angry infantry. So I lost my life as well. And then... yeah, so I got hits. So every time he attacks, his 3C will proc a... or I think it's in here, actually. Every time he does a regular attack, he does an AoE. And then, of course, the AoE can proc Rupture. As you can see, Light of Genesis had 600 health left. So if I had Pale Staff equipped, I'm pretty sure Light of Genesis would have died here. Now, it's possible with Pale Staff I would have gotten killed sooner, but that's another story. So yeah, cutting it real close here. Yeah, thankfully the passive AoE doesn't do any heal negation, so I was able to heal up pretty easily. Unfortunately, I'm in a little bit of danger. Since if I get hit again by Bernhard, he'll probably one-shot me. That was a regular attack, by the way. He took me pretty much from near full to 0. Just like that, even with damage reduction. Alright, now something I want to go ahead and point out here is this is where my hit points are at right now. So I'm at 92% health, and then sorcerers are at full. Yeah, what's actually make this a little annoying is while I definitely... Rosen Seal herself doesn't have a lot of healing, or a lot of single target healing. Her passive healing, like just passing turn next to her heals you and puts up Crystal Barrier. So just her passing turn ends up healing her a bunch with Crystal Molder passive heal, and then of course the heal from her talent. So it's just tedious. It's not really dangerous though. As you probably noticed, Hilda procced Thorns and it did tons of damage to Florentia. But I was just softening up Hilda so I can go ahead and do this. Proc Thorns again. And of course the Molders also reflect. Yeah, I took myself down to 500 health. Again, if I didn't have Scepter Divinity equipped, I'm pretty sure I would have lost Tensei Jessica there. And Tensei Jessica is kind of my only DPS right now, so it's kind of important that I stay alive. Alright, so now taking out Hilda, of course, opened up a slot for the center, and I'm just killing the targets in the center now for free, because they don't have any guards. Yeah, and my opponent decided to do Sword Dance. Yeah, now he decided to do Sword Dance over doing his 3C faction buff. But that didn't really matter to me because I'm just gonna blast Juggler here. And this will heal Hilda because she's immune to heal negation. And now I have no real danger of being killed. I haven't really been talking about the damage numbers. In the beginning, we were ahead, and then when Bernhardt was one-shotting my tank and essentially doing a bunch of AoEs, he actually caught up very quickly in the damage because he does so much damage. It's insane. Bernhardt's really, really dangerous. Yeah, it's possible I could have probably should have gone for Bernhardt instead of Werner, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get kill on Bernhardt is the problem. He's bulky. I mean, I would melt his werewolves because of Holy, but Bernhardt himself can be a bit of a danger. I think Marielle probably would have gotten the kill, but then it would have been a trade because Werner would have gotten a kill on me probably. In any case, been softening up Juggler here. The other reason why I've been targeting whoever's down here is because obviously I'm in melee with Bernhardt, so attacking in melee would not help me right now. But Bernhardt's taken his action already, so I'm able to finally shuffle my formation. So I did the 3 seed, not just really just mainly just so I can get the one strategy I needed to get the act again. And then I shift my tank over, shift Liana forward. Holy troops versus demons is reasonably effective. And with that, I finished things up with Tensei Jessica. So yeah, I made a few mistakes, I think. Bernhardt's just really, really dangerous. But it was both of us kind of were in the same situation. We really only had 2 real threats. I had Tensei Jessica and Marielle, and he had Werner and Bernhardt. And I was pretty confident as long as I had class change active, I could survive Bernhardt. I was a little concerned about his AoE, but after experiencing it firsthand, it wasn't enough to kill for max health. And there was no other AoEs besides Juggler, whose 3C was already popped. And the Juggler would have been threatening if he had a faction buff, but otherwise he didn't really do very much, besides just pick on Marielle a bit. Anyway, my Tensei Jessica tanked a ton of damage, both from AoEs and thorns. It's just ridiculous. And everyone in my party heals. It's amazing. That is something that some people have mentioned for the meta with Wet Hand coming in. Is just bring as many pseudo healers as possible, just so you can have healers that do things, or well, essentially healers that can do other things. Essentially. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I need to talk about. Sorry if this was a bit long. I changed the box, so obviously there was a lot of things to talk about on that front. I do like the changes. I do want to see Moo in action, even at 4 stars. And as you can see, my win rate's still pretty good. I'm only halfway to gold 2, so we'll see if we get there. I'm not going to rush for it though. But yeah, like I was talking about for Moo, any allies that are in Forest and Grasslands get plus 8% attack and intelligence, and that stacks with all your other buffs, which is really helpful. And this buff is going to get higher as Moo gets higher star ratings. And she also, provides passive healing for everyone that's in that terrain. And then of course she has Revitalizing Blessing, which also provides additional passive healing at the end of her turn. So I'm using her as kind of a pseudo support healer teleporter thing that also can nuke sometimes. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I'm the Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 8. See you guys later.